welcome to the Buff Show. Today, me and Alex are going to be going over some seller finance stuff. So, how's it going, dude?
Good.
Good.
Good, dude. I love seller finance.
I know you just got through one of these. You're actually
Yeah.
working on another one right now.
Trying, yeah. We sent 3 to people yesterday, too. Dang.
So, what is seller financing?
Yeah, so seller financing is where essentially when you're buying a property or if you're selling, basically the owner of the property is the lender. So there, you're kind of cutting, in most transactions, the bank is usually making the majority of the money.
Right.
Closing fees, interest rates, things
Yeah.
like that. So I would say there's kind of 2 types of seller financing, and one is more like if they own it outright.
Yeah.
The sellers own it outright. It's kind of, I would call it true seller financing or full. And basically they can, you choose any interest rate they want, any down payment they want, any purchase price they want. Like a property is worth what someone will buy it for, right?
Yeah.
So we have one under contract right now for 3.75%, which is
Dang.
a lot lower.
It's way better
7,
than
8,
like
9.
7. Well, I guess on an investment, you'd be like 8.8 and a
8.5.
quarter.
Yeah.
Really? So, over half.
Yeah. So difference is like, this payment's going to be $2,200, where if we just bought it through a normal bank, it's going to be almost almost 5.
Really?
Yeah.
So
more than double.
Why would a seller want to do that right now?
Yeah. So right now is kind of a unique time where it's like, if you sell your property, you might get to sell it for full price. Maybe under. I think usually isn't it under a little bit right now?
Yeah, I think we're like 97% of list price is the stat for all of Utah.
Yeah. So I mean, seller finance. A lot of people are buying those 10, 20% over
Right.
what they're worth or what they're listed for.
Right.
Just so it's not on their credit report. It's not the payments can be lower just because you have low interest rate.
Yeah.
So and then the sellers can kind of choose a different balloon payment, like 1, 2, 3, up to 10. However long
Or
they
20
want
or 30, or I mean, you could do a 50-year.
however long they want to have that loan for, but just makes a lot of sense for the seller. You can spread out your tax liability, can get the purchase price that you want, you can get the full chunk in a year or 2 or whatever you want. And I would say probably the main thing is like you're going to get paid every single month.
Right. And you're not in charge of the repairs.
Yeah, you're not renting it, so you're not in charge of the repairs. And I think what's really cool too is like people are like, well, what if they don't pay? It's like, well, you're the bank. Like
you take the property back.
Yeah, you can literally keep the down payment.
Right.
You can foreclose on them, get the property back, and sell it again.
Right.
That's why like the only people really coming to you that want you to seller finance to them usually are the people that like they know they can pay for it.
Right. So I've done a few of these. I bought 3 properties via seller financing, just me personally, and then I've helped quite a few other people do this, and it's so flexible. That's what I love about it. Like the first house I bought, I just got home from my mission, didn't have really any cash. I had a little bit. I had like $7,000 saved up, and like I didn't have any work history. I was working multiple jobs. Some of them were just paying me under the table. So it was like they're like, you got to wait 2 years before you can qualify to get a loan. And I'm like, frick. I was like, I need to get into a house now because I don't want to rent. I actually had bought a van. I was living in a van at that time up in Logan.
You do good nowadays too, huh?
Dude, I loved the van. Yeah, the van life was awesome. It was free as a bird. But I found this house in Logan. They were offering seller finance, went through it, and ended up working a deal out with them where it was like, I remember the purchase price was like $180,000. We did it was 4 or 5% interest with a 10-year balloon, amortized over 30 years. Yeah. It was 5 or 10-year balloon, and I was like, I only have $7,000 right now. I can give you $7,000 today, and then I could probably give you another $7,000 in like 6 months. And they're like, okay.
And you just went for it.
And I went for it.
Yeah.
And so it was sweet because I was able to like structure it that way. And I moved into the basement, rented out the upstairs. I remember my payment was $933 a month. And I put a tenant upstairs. The first one was $800. The next one was $900. So the difference was like $33 a month. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And I remember being worried about like, am I going to be able to find a renter? And the minute I posted it on KSL, like my phone just got blown up. Yeah. It was crazy.
I bet.
Yeah, it was in Logan, right close to Utah State, and it was unreal. I was like, I kind of like this. Yeah. I didn't have my license then, so that's what kind of got me into. I'm like, man, I just bought this property, dude. It got me freaking jazzed up to go find some more. So then after that property, lived there for a year or two, we ended up selling it, and I paid 180 for it. I think we sold it for 250. So there was like 70 grand, had to pay some selling fees and stuff like that. I think we made 50 grand on it, and I had found a fourplex down here in South Ogden. 240,000. They wanted 50 grand down, 4% interest on that one was 5% interest on a 10-year balloon.
No,
Or
seller
5 year.
finance too.
Seller finance too.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's
So
awesome.
then I bought that one, took that 50, put it towards this, but then we had a fourplex, like sweet. And that property was sweet because we moved in, rents were cheap, like $500 to $600 a month per unit. They're all 2-bedroom units, but close to Weber State. We refinanced that one later. The first one I didn't ever refinance. The second one I did. Refinance that one later and put it, like, we were living there. And so we got like a 4.5% interest rate, like super low. And our payments on that are like $1,700 a month right now. And we have some of those units renting for $1,500 a month.
Yeah.
Like, it's been unreal. So,
Yeah, sit and wait.
and then I bought
Maybe more.
another one via seller, another duplex on seller financing. So I'm like a huge proponent on seller financing. So the pros, obviously you can like everything's negotiable.
Yeah.
The down payment, obviously the purchase price, but your interest rate, the terms, you can be like, I was even talking to a guy the other day who his mom is like in an assisted living and they want the income for them now. But he's like, if my mom ever passes away, I want like just to get rid of the house. Like I don't want to have to be carrying a note. And I'm like, well, we can put in there, like, as long as she's alive, we're good to keep it. And then if she ever passes, then we have 6 months or something to pay it off or something like that. So it's just super flexible what you can do with them.
Yeah. No, it really is. And I think a lot of people are asking, like, well, what if they owe money on the property? Like, can they seller finance it? It's like,
Yeah.
they can. There's just a few things that, like, their current mortgage, that bank can call it due.
Right.
They can have it called due in full only if they see that, like, the title's transferred
Right.
to somebody else.
Yeah.
So there's a few things that you can do that. And it doesn't say that they will.
It's just
says
they can.
They can, right?
Yeah.
So they haven't really ever been, but they could. And so
Right.
you have to take that risk and either have in there, like, the seller will pay off that loan if it gets called due,
Right.
or and it's all legal. It's just you got to make sure that you got all your ducks in a row.
For sure. Yeah. All the ones I've done, the owners have owned it outright.
Yeah.
And it's made it way easier.
Same.
You can do the wraps. And tell us about the property you just bought, a wedding venue, seller
Yeah.
finance.
And I was so psyched about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, like, we found out they owned it outright. They said they'd seller finance half of it. It was 1.4 million, and we're like 700K. Like, I don't got that.
Right.
So we basically convinced them to seller finance. We sent them 2 offers, and we just really hoped that they just accepted the seller finance one, because the other one, I don't know if it would have worked. But
Right.
one was a normal commercial loan, and it wasn't seller financed, and that was for 1.3, and they wanted 1.4, right? And then the other one was for seller finance with a 5-year balloon at 1.45. So it's $150,000 swing. So they accepted that one, except for we wanted 3% interest, and I knew they wouldn't take that, but I just put it on there. And they met us in the middle at 5. So 5 is still great for that one.
That's amazing.
It is, because our payment with this $1.3 million loan with even 20% down would have been like $8,000 or $9,000 a month.
Yeah.
And then this $1.2 million seller finance, even though it's a lot more money, 5%, our payment is $6,000 a month.
Dang.
And sometimes we do that with one wedding.
Right.
So it just makes a lot more sense to not be on our credit. It makes a lot of sense for the sellers because they weren't making that much, because they were making okay.
Right.
Gives them, $70,000 a year, 5 years, and they get a higher purchase price. So they're going to get, the full rest, after 5 years.
Dude, that's amazing. So how'd you find these seller finance deals?
A lot of them are on the MLS. I mean, I don't want to give all my tricks away, but I mean, you can just type in Zillow seller finance and it's going to pop up a lot for you. On the MLS, you can have your agent or us, set you up with a list so you can get seller finance deals every day.
Yeah.
So just looking at a lot of those every day and then sending them to people. I recently started doing a daily deal,
Nice.
and it's almost always seller finance.
Dude,
so
that's
people can
awesome.
see it. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, they're like, you just start looking. It's like whenever you have like this car that you really want and you're like, I want to a new Ford F-350 or something like that.
Yeah.
You start seeing them everywhere,
Yeah.
just because you're aware of them. These deals are the same way. If you are like, hey, I'd like some seller finance deals, you start looking, you'll find them.
Yeah.
Like they're out there
And I think they're
talking.
becoming more prominent.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot more now.
Well, especially with interest rates, like sometimes that's the only way people are able to move a property. And sometimes the people just want the property out of their hands. They don't necessarily need the cash. They just don't want to have to take care of the property anymore. And so for them to make some interest on it and get out and then have a balloon in 5 years or whatever.
Yeah, and what's interesting is like people, well, why would I do that like now? Like, and reality is you're going to get a higher purchase price. Like even if rates went down in a year, you can have basically a higher purchase price when you're seller financing it, right?
Right.
And so it's like people probably aren't even going to be on there 5 or 10 years. Like,
Right.
have you actually gone the full term? With
No.
any of your, yeah,
No.
it's like you're probably not even, like if you're selling your house or buying, like you're probably not even going to be on there for the full 5 or 10 year
Right.
balloon. But you can have your purchase price so much higher because you're willing to do that. And like, when rates are low, 3, 4, 5%, you're not going to be able to get someone to seller finance at 7, 8, 9%. Or like
No.
right now, kind of can.
Yeah.
Definitely a huge benefit. I don't know how long it will last. But
Yeah, no, it is a great time to do it. It's a huge opportunity, and there's a lot of homes out there just sitting. And I think if you get creative and you're like, hey, would you carry a deal, even if they're not advertising it like that? Some might not know what it is or have never done it. Like there's a lot of agents that just have never done it, and so they're clueless how easy it is.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to point out is you can bring in a third party. We use escrow specialists a lot. And they'll take care of the payments for you. So they'll do all the accounting. So you as the buyer will pay escrow specialists.
Mhm.
They'll take care of, I think sometimes you can add in there the taxes as well for them to pay. But they'll then distribute it where it needs to go, seller taxes.
Yeah, so you're never even really talking to the seller, the
Right.
lender.
And
That's
then
that's
it's-
how we have it set up.
Yeah. And then it's all accounted for. So then when you go to sell, you're like, hey, what's my payoff? And then they pull it up and it's easy as that. So
Yeah.
it's like, just like as if you just bought it with a lender, except you're paying escrow specialists. They're doing all the accounting and escrow work, and then they pay the seller.
Yeah, and essentially there's almost no closing costs.
Right.
1% origination fee for the bank. Like it's just not there.
Yeah, there
So-
isn't any closing costs. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to do another title policy or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
pretty sweet. So, well, this has been helpful. I think I get asked this all the time, like, what is seller financing? How can I do it? It's great for so many people. Like, I'm in this spot where I don't necessarily want to put 20 to 25% down on another investment property, or even 10 or 15%,
Yeah.
that you can negotiate really good down payments on some seller finance deals right now. So
Yeah.
it's a great option. And if you guys are looking for some daily deals, hit Alex up. He's got some.
We got some good daily deals.
Alex is like the king of finding good deals. So if you're
Love
looking
finding
for
good deals.
something, hit him up. He's your man. So anyways, guys, hopefully that's helpful. If you have any other questions, reach out. And until next time.